Our national symbols are divided into the official national symbols and the unofficial national symbols. No, so maybe uh, you can recall this or you remember this as a quiz or as part of your examination or your periodic examination for your basic education classes. No, ito yung mga pinapamemorize na national tree, national flower, national hero, and the like. But not all national symbols are legislated, no, are provided by law. So we'll take a look first at the 12 no, national symbols which are provided by law, three of which are the national flag, the national coat of arms, and the Great Seal. No, so the national flag differentiates no a certain nationality no, or country from other countries. Right? We also have other national symbols like the national coat of arms, and in this case, aside from the three stars and a sun and the four different colors, we'll also see no text Republika ng Pilipinas, which means Philippine Republic, and two animals, no, a lion and an eagle. Okay? And later on, no, part of the triumvirate ng national symbols is the Great Seal. And in this case, you'll still see the national coat of arms, no, inside the smaller circle. And in the bigger circle, you'll see the Republika ng Pilipinas or Philippine Republic and five words, no, which comprise the national motto. No, would you believe we have a national motto? Okay? So why are they official? No, because they're provided by law. No, it's legalized through the Republic Act 8491 or the Flag and Heraldic Code of the Philippines. No, what differentiates them from each other? Yung Great Seal usually used by the Philippine President to approve documents. Okay, tapos yung flag, that's what we raise, no, or what we wave, no, especially in official functions. Okay, yung national coat of arms, you can see that displayed no in government offices. There are 9 more national symbols no provided by other legal documents, no. The fourth one is the national anthem, and it's provided by law that the tempo should be 2/4, no. Um, and before it was sung by Martin Nievera at a different arrangement. No? So yung required tempo is to um, say, not to describe that it's a march, yung national anthem. Before we used to describe it as Bayang Magiliw. Tapos later on, nagkaroon siya ng title na Lupang Hinirang. And now, we describe it no, as Lupang Hinirang. But some students still describe it as Bayang Magiliw. Okay? Number 5, our national language is Filipino. Now, coming from the talk of Bebang, see, there's a difference between the Filipino language and the Tagalog language. Okay? So if we don't have an equivalent no na translation in the Tagalog language, we'll refer to other languages and make it part of the national language, which is Filipino. No, case in point, how do you translate justice in Tagalog? And how do you translate justice in Filipino? How do you translate that? That's katarungan, no? Katarungan, actually, yung root word niyan, no, did not come from the Tagalog language. Akala natin Tagalog siya, no? Tarong is from the Bisaya, no? So, from tarong, we came up with katarungan. So that would explain, no, what differentiates Filipino from Tagalog. Another example is yung yung diniscuss natin do sa tarsier. Still remember? Tarsier is from Bohol, no? That's endemic to Bohol. Pero if you'll ask, no, at Tagalog what the translation for tarsier is, baka wala kasi walang hindi endemic yung tarsier sa sa Luzon. And then national sign language, no? And the national sign language is also provided by law na it should be the Filipino Sign Language. But if you would look at other schools for the deaf, no, sa Binild, fortunately they're using FSL. But in other schools for the deaf, no, they're still using ASL or the American Sign Language, no. The Filipino Sign Language is provided by Republic Act 11106. Okay, na it should be the national sign language. Pero they're still having a hard time convincing other Filipinos to use this because of our colonial mentality. No? Looking at the Americans as superior, kaya yun pa rin yung tinuturo nila. That's why they're still teaching the ASL. Even if we now have our own sign language, which is the FSL. Okay? And then, not all national symbols were provided by laws signed by Philippine presidents. No? Kasi yung karamihan ng mga national symbols, signed siya ni former President Fidel V. Ramos tsaka former President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo. Two national symbols are provided by Proclamation number 652, which was signed by this guy, no, in the right, who was an American Governor General, si Frank Murphy. And can you name these two national symbols na nandyan sa left side? What are they?
Nara, Sampaguita.
Okay, Nara and Sampaguita, no? We have the national tree, no, to symbolize strength, and the national flower to symbolize purity or cleanliness siguro. No, the Sampaguita. But do you know that during the former administration, no, the term of former President Noynoy Aquino, no, nag-propose yung Congress, no, to declare waling-waling. Who's familiar with waling-waling? Waling-waling is endemic sa Zamboanga, and now it's also endemic to Cotabato and Davao. Okay, they proposed that waling-waling be declared the national flower together with Sampaguita. Because yung Sampaguita daw is not endemic lang sa Philippines. It was also ano rin daw siya, national flower din daw siya of another country, which in this case is Indonesia, no? Sa Indonesia daw meron ding Sampaguita as a national flower. So that's why they propose waling-waling, which is a Philippine orchid, no? As a national flower. But it did not push through, no? Sampaguita is also endemic sa Hawaii. Okay? That's why if you'll see Filipino Americans from Hawaii, meron din silang Sampaguita. Okay? So it did not push through, and then declared then, no, ng law, Proclamation number 615, yung Philippine Eagle as the national bird of the Philippines. Before, when I was younger, Maya, yung pinapamemorize sa amin. Maya, which is a small bird. Okay? So Maya used to be the national bird of the Philippines, and when it became a problem that the monkey-eating eagles are becoming extinct, no, were becoming extinct in the late 1990s, no, ito ngayon nag-breed sila ng mga monkey-eating eagles in captivity. Yung the first one died last year, si Pag-asa, which can actually symbolize the death of hope na rin or pag-asa in the Philippines. Okay, so Proclamation number 615 declared the Philippine Eagle. Why is it now called the Philippine Eagle? Kasi sa Davao, where the Philippine eagle used to be bred, no, monkey-eating eagle pa sila. And then they ran out of monkeys to eat, kaya it was changed to Philippine eagle. So imagine, nung elementary ako, the national bird, the answer to the exam is Maya. Nung high school ako, the answer to the exam is monkey-eating eagle. And then later on, sa college is now Philippine eagle. Okay? So yun. What else? Ang part nung 12 na declared official national symbols. Ito ba? Previously, it's the national sport of the Philippines is called sipa. Are you familiar with sipa? And why did they change it? No? From sipa, naging arnis na siya.
Sir, it's called Sepak now.
It's called sepak now, no? It's called sepak takraw. And sepak takraw is local, no, to Malaysia. Okay? So they change it. In this case, nag-succeed, no, to change the national sport from Sipa is extreme. Okay? So yun. How do we declare our national symbols? So maybe you're wondering, paano na-declare yung mga yan? Baka yung iba sa inyo, it's not familiar with those, no? Like this one, di ba? Parang yung Philippine Pearl or South Sea Pearl was not part of my early education. Hindi naman siya kasama doon sa pinapamemorize sa amin as the national symbols of the Philippines. But I was surprised to know that it is one of the legal, no, official national symbols of the Philippines because it's provided under the proclamation number 905. I'm not sure kung si Ramos yung nag-sign or President GMA. Okay? The first time I encountered South Sea Pearl was when we went to Palawan. Doon, no? Along Rizal Avenue. Marami nagbebenta ng South Sea Pearl. And then later on when we went to El Nido. Okay? Pero in other provinces, baka hindi ka maka-encounter ng South Sea Pearl. Okay? So, some choices to answer the question earlier, no? Some choices were decided because they're getting extinct, like in the case of Philippine Eagle. Number two, to project a better image of the Philippines, no? Like in the example nung Maya, kasi Maya is a small bird. Parang if you'll compare it the national bird of other countries, no? Like for example, the US, American Eagle yun sa US, di ba? So bigger yung mga national birds nila. Tapos sa Philippines, maliit lang, no, Maya. So they changed it to Philippine Eagle. And similarly, Philippine Eagle or monkey-eating eagle was getting extinct. Until now pa rin, hindi pa rin naman safe to assume, no, that the Philippine Eagle is back to its normal na situation. Okay? And then, ito, yung would you believe that we also have a national motto, no? Which you saw earlier dun sa national coat of arms or national and sa national seal, no? Is makadiyos, makatao, makakalikasan at makabansa. Before, during the time of President Ferdinand Marcos, no, the senior, it's isang bansa, isang diwa. Tapos later on, when President Cory Aquino, no, uh, was installed as president, no, she changed it to makadiyos, makatao, makabayan. Okay? Three words or three qualities lang. And then, under FVR, no, kay Fidel V. Ramos nga the president, yung maraming na legalized as official symbols, it was changed into makadiyos, which is God-fearing, no, makatao. What's makatao? Humane. Tama ba? Makakalikasan, environmental, and makabansa, nationalist. Okay? But if you look at this qualities, no, which would best describe us as Filipinos, lahat ba yan present sa atin? Parang for me, I wouldn't consider makakalikasan as natural to Filipinos, especially with our growing poverty rate. No? Why? Being environmental is more associated to developed countries, to rich countries. Kasi may choice sila. Okay? Take into account that Filipinos are more inclined to the tingi culture. What's the tingi culture? That's why we have a lot of sari-sari stores and convenience stores, no? Sa tingi culture,
Sachet.
yon, sa shea economy. Tama. Thanks, Gabriel. Abriel ba yan? Abriel. Okay? Yung sa
Opo.
sachet na lang, di ba? If you'll buy sachets, no? Plastics agad yon. That's why if you go to the beaches, no? Ang dami-dami ng mga sachets ng shampoo tsaka soap. Okay? And that's not being environmental. Okay? And makajos doesn't only refer to Christians, no? Pwedeng believing in a supreme being. no? Believing in Allah for Muslims, or believing in Bathala, no, for our katutubo or for our indigenous peoples, no? Pwede rin naman believing in uh, upper mythologies like Diwata, Encantada, and the like. In this case, I won't ask you to memorize them. I'll ask you to apply them in films, no, which will cite examples later on, no, at the end of the discussion, no. Would you believe Jose Rizal is not legally declared, no, as our national hero? That's why some groups would still insist on declaring Andres Bonifacio as our national hero. Why? Ang logic nila is Jose Rizal was not declared by Filipinos as the national hero. He was declared by the Americans. What's the logic behind it?
Um, Hello po, sir.
Sige, sige. Stop sharing ko lang so I can see you. Who's reciting? Elaine?
Opo. I'm not even sure po if this is actually true, pero ang naririnig ko po na arguments ng people who hate how he was kasi they had intentions on why they chose Rizal specifically because he was um for reform, he was peaceful, so he wasn't want to incite an armed revolution. So it was someone that they wanted us to look up to. So if we ever had Alma against the Americans, we wouldn't be up in arms about it. Yun po yung alam ko from the groups
Okay,
na
that's right, no? That's correct. Thanks, Elaine. No? So, Rizal is a reformist, no? So, pacifist. Yun nga, 'di ba? Parang merong question if Rizal uh, parang ano nga ba? Rizal is against the Katipunan, no? Pero Andres Bonifacio declared Rizal as the parang guide of the Katipunan, 'di ba? So, 'yun, no, yung reasoning is the Americans declared Jose Rizal as our national hero because he's more peaceful as compared to Bonifacio, who was a revolutionary. If the Americans would declare Andres Bonifacio as our national hero and we're looking at as a revolutionary as our national hero, no? Kasi if you'll compare Jose Rizal sa other national heroes of other countries, yung national heroes ng ibang countries, revolutionaries. Okay? Pero in our case, no, writer, novelist yung ating national hero instead of a revolutionary like Andres Bonifacio. No, as Elaine explained earlier, no, it's provided by uh, Renato Constantino, a Philippine historian, and even Teodoro Agoncillo. Or if you're still stuck with Gregorio Zaide, no, the puro memorization lang ang alam na historian, no. Baka may relative si Zaide rito. Okay, sorry. Yun nga, parang the explanation provided by Philippine historians, no, in their accounts as what Elaine has mentioned, that if you are going to declare Andres Bonifacio, maybe it would incite rebellion, no, from the Filipinos to go against the Americans. That's why they declared Jose Rizal, no. Pero hindi naman siya provided by law. So maybe later on, if a Philippine president or a congressman, no, or a lawmaker would propose, no, Andres Bonifacio as our national hero and it's signed by the Philippine president, baka mapalitan si Jose Rizal. Okay? And then we also have our national fruit, and it's not just a mango, no, or during our elementary days, mango. Okay? It's not just your usual mango. That's kalabaw, no? Mango, carabao. Okay, Carabao mango. Okay? So, it's not just any other mango, no? It's not even Guimaras mangoes, which we're proud of, no? It's Carabao mango, manggang kalabaw, no? So, hindi Guimaras mangoes, and if you're familiar with Guimaras mangoes, parang there's a specific law ba yun or ordinance that you can't just bring any other mango inside Guimaras. It's an island, di ba? So if you're coming from Iloilo, you need to ride a boat going to Guimaras. No, they would inspect your bags if you're bringing in other kinds of mangoes because they're worried that ma-affect yung nila, sweetest mangoes, di ba? Yung Guimaras mangoes. That it will, if ever you throw in, for example, you bring in manggang kalabaw, no, or Carabao mango to their island, or a ripe mango coming from another province, and you would throw them, no, to sa Guimaras, baka mag-grow siya into another breed of mango, no. That's how they protect the Guimaras mangoes or the sweetest mangoes. Pero going back doon sa mango Carabao, no, clearly this was another decision, no, of people coming from Luzon. Okay? So yun. Dahil ano to nakakita lang ako nito sa ano. Meron ng binebenta dito sa Metro Manila, no, but they came from Central Luzon, or before sa La Union ako nakakita ng Carabao mango. And speaking of Carabao, no, another unofficial national symbol is the Carabao, no? So going to the logic of declaring something as endangered, no? Something endangered as a national symbol. Baka magandang i-declare yung tama raw as a national animal kasi it's also endangered like the Philippine eagle. Pero if you'll declare tama raw, no, the FEU students or the FEU community would celebrate kasi FEU tama raw nga sila, no. So still sa list, it's still Carabao, no. But if you're coming from uh, coastal towns, no, baka walang Carabao sa inyo, no. Sa agricultural provinces lang 'yon. Again, going back to the Central Luzon region, no, or Region 3. Okay? And yung national fish natin is bangus. Yung bangus din is local, no, to some provinces. What provinces are known for their bangus? Yung bangus, no, ay popular sa Pangasinan, no. You have Dagupan bangus, and then you also have Bonuan bangus. But it's not only in Pangasinan, meron ka ring Sarangani, 'di ba? Sarangani bangus, if you'll check, yung mga binebenta sa supermarkets, meron kang Sarangani Bay bangus, and Sarangani is in Mindanao. Okay? So 'yun. Ano yung bakit natin 'to kailangan malaman, no? Meron din tayong mga undeclared, no? Aside from the official and unofficial, meron tayong mga undeclared na national symbols. Okay? And then we have the national leaf, anahaw. Questionable din tong anahaw kasi parang one time lang ako nakakita ng anahaw. Have you seen an anahaw before? And what is its use? No, before it was used as an abanico or a fan. Okay? In Quezon province, they use this as a wrap, something to wrap their food, no? Tikoy gumaka in particular in Quezon. They wrap tikoy gumaka with anahaw leaves. Pero ngayon, if you'll check plantitos and plantitas, hindi naman binebenta yung anahaw as part of the usual mga binebenta ng plantitos and plantitas, di ba? So, yon. National House, yung bahay kubo was declared as a national house kasi it's connected to one of our traditions, which is bayanihan, no? Bayanihan is carrying a house, no, by a community, okay, or helping each other, no, through bayanihan. Okay, and if you look at visualizations, no, we're talking about visualizations here because you're film students and you'll use this later on in your films, no. We'll see the nipa hut or the bahay kubo as part of that bayanihan tradition. Okay? And then, yan, mas magugutom kayo. Okay? So we also have the national dish, and this is a debate, no? An ongoing debate among different groups. Kasi if you're going to declare lechon as our national dish or food, and going back to Bebang's discussion on representation, no, clearly it fails representation because ang lechon baka hindi kinakain ng Muslims, and we have Filipino Muslims, no? So, parang a few years ago, they had a poll, no? Parang a survey which should be the rightful national dish or food of the Philippines. Instead of lechon, is it adobo or is it sinigang? In the unofficial poll, Ang nanalo ay adobo. Okay? So, wala pa namang legal na declaration, no? But going back dun sa discussion on a national dish, it's also connected to our our fascination for rice, no? Kasi uh, during our discussion of the explicit manifestations of culture, no, rice is an integral part of our lives. That's why instead of just rice, no, or kanin to describe it, we have different words to describe it. We have palay for uncooked rice, sinaing for um, cooked rice, no? We have bahaw for cold rice. We have tutong, no, for burnt rice. We have sinangag, no, for fried rice and others. And an ulam, how do you translate ulam in English?
Viand, sir.
Viand, no? An ulam is translated as viand, no? As Elena said and as Ivan has chatted, no? Yung viand is not the exact, if you'll go by our Filipino culture, is not an exact translation of ulam. Because if I ask you if kumain na kayo, sasabihin nyo, baka hindi. Pero maybe earlier, kumain kayo ng biscuit. So that's how important rice is to Filipino culture and even to the words that we use in everyday life, no? So kung viand yung translation nyo, kapag hindi siya nag-involve ng rice, okay, so Wendy also said, no, that if it doesn't involve rice, it's not eating, no? Parang pansit, you eat pansit or even spaghetti with rice, di ba? Yung my nephew would eat spaghetti with rice. Yun. Okay, so we need rice to call it or to qualify it as food, no? As something we have eaten rather than just burger, cookies or biscuits. Okay? So yon. And then national dance, it used to be tinikling, no? Just to move forward to our discussion and this relate this now to films, no? So before it was tinikling and then it was declared na nakarinyosa na. Pero not legally, no? And then we have a debate then whether it's a jeepney or a kalesa. A jeepney came from the army jeeps, no, or the jeepies of the Americans during the war, and it was transformed into a jeepney, no, with the decorations, no. And if you look closely at a jeepney, only in a jeepney can you see an image of the Mama Mary and Captain America together. Okay. Mama Mary sa body, Captain America, Spider-Man, or you can see a bagwa, no, and a rosary sa jeepney. Okay? 'Di ba? It's a combination of different elements, no, coming from Christianity, coming from the Chinese, and coming from the Americans. Okay? So 'yon. And nakalesa, sabi ng iba, it's from the Spaniards, no? The word kalesa itself, no, is a Spanish word. Okay? So, hindi naman natin to problem because it's not declared as official symbols. And then we also have the national attire, no, for women, Barot Saya, and the national attire for men. Okay? Barong Tagalog. Pero now that meron na tayong mga gender representations and gender studies, no? Parang ano na, some would believe na they are just social constructs, no? Even a woman can wear barong Tagalog or a man can wear barot saya. And finally, dun sa mga unofficial, undeclared na national symbol natin is the national footwear called bakya, which leads us to its application, no? The application of these symbols to our films, to Philippine cinema, no? Bakya in Pinoy films used to be a dominant visual manifestation of Filipino culture, no? As provided by Bakya Muneneng, which was the first film directed by a Filipino woman filmmaker. And then later on, 10 years after, no, one of our national artists for film, Jerry De Leon, ito yung sa Bakyamo Neneng, yung right, far right, the first film directed by a Filipino woman. Yung nasa middle is directed by Jerry De Leon or Gerardo De Leon, no? One of our national artists for film, no? He remade Bakyamo Neneng into the same title, Bakyamo Neneng. And then later on, mga 1970s, there's another film entitled Bakyamo Neneng starring a former Philippine president, si Erap Joseph Estrada. Another application of the national symbols, no? Baka hindi kayo makarelate dito, is ito na lang, na Barong Tagalog, no? As worn by foreign celebrities who went to the Philippines, no? So, left one is Jeremy Renner. He went here to shoot Born Legacy. Legacy in Pasay, no? Yung sa Rotonda area and the MRT station. Also in Navotas, when um, wala, when Jeremy Renner's character and Rachel Weisz's character ended up in the Navotas Fishport, no? Sa last part of the film, if you have seen that. And also Quentin Tarantino, no? In 2007, he went here to accept an award from Cine Manila. And Cine Manila is our former International Film Festival, no? And Tarantino received the complete Filipino welcome because coming from Manila Hotel, he was wearing that Barong Tagalog and he was on the way to Malacanang. And since it was August 2007, tama, if I'm not mistaken, bumaha, no? There's a flood on the way to Malacanang. So Quentin Tarantino was forced to come out of the car which is riding that time and hailed a pedicab. Okay, imagine, no? The director of Pulp Fiction, Inglorious Bastards, Kill Bill, and the like, no? Wearing a Barong Tagalog aboard a pedicab. Okay? Pedicab. You're familiar with the pedicab, no? So, parang tricycle na hindi demotor. Okay? So, that's a pedicab, a bicycle with a wagon. Okay? So, you have Quentin Tarantino on the way to Malacanang wearing a Barong Tagalog, no? Aboard a pedicab. Okay? That's a complete Filipino welcome. And then you have the former US President, no? Barack Obama. Okay? Research nyo na lang. Ayan, there's a P-pop group that is promoting Filipino clothing. Yan, baka bago, yon. Maybe it's better to support them. Okay. Lalo-lalo na if it adds more or it going back to the question, can you imitate, no? In the case of Filipinos, we infuse, no? We adapt the culture to our own, no? Another example is the use of chopsticks in rice. 'Di ba? If Chinese, no, and Vietnamese eat rice with chopsticks, why can't we do the same? Kasi if you'll differentiate our rice, no, yung rice ng China tsaka ng Vietnam, they're sticky rice. Ang rice natin is buhaghag. 'Di ba? So, if you're using chopsticks and you're eating rice, no, it's easier if you're eating sticky rice and using chopsticks. But in the case of Filipinos, we're using spoon and fork, or we're even using our bare hands when eating rice, no? And then, when we encounter sticky rice, no, it's not the same as the rice which we mix with our food, no, our viand. No, sticky rice for us is a dessert. Okay, sticky rice is suman. Sticky rice is rice cake. Sticky rice is our merienda. Okay, for kakanin, no? So if sticky rice for Chinese and Vietnamese is mixed with viand, for us it's a dessert, no? So rice cake, suman, and kakanin. Okay, so that differentiates us from other countries or other nationalities. Okay, Wendy, is it clear? So yan. We also have saya, but in this case, we don't use barot saya in films. We use saya to refer to under the saya, no? Especially during the 50s, 1960s. Under the saya or Andres de Saya, which was revived into a soap opera by GMA7, starring Iza Calzado when she used to be part of GMA7 and the infamous Cesar Montano. Andres de Saya refer to a husband who always follows the orders of his wife. That's Andres de Saya or under the skirt. Okay? So yun. Pero hindi na rin to na-adapt sa generation nyo. Kasi now we have house husbands. Okay? So ito yung mas siguro you can relate to, no? The Philippine Eagle in Birdshot. Have you seen Birdshot? Directed by Michael Red. No? In Birdshot, the dilemma of the character is whether to hunt, no? To shoot the Philippine Eagle, which clearly in our discussion earlier is provided by law, which means if you kill a Philippine Eagle, no, you'll go to jail. Kasi merong law supporting that claim na it's our national bird. But ignorance is not an excuse. So dun sa birdshot, dun nag-revolve yung conflict. Okay? So would you the police officers, no, referring to the characters of John Arcilla, si John Arcilla ulit from Anino, and Arnold Reyes, no? If they would there's a different version pa pala ng poster na to. This is the Philippine version. And usually in Philippine posters, if you look closely, no, sa Philippine posters lagi nandun yung actors. In the international poster, which is more ano ba, striking, no? You'll just see an image of the girl with carrying with her a Philippine eagle. Okay? So in this case nga, sa Filipino version, wala man lang Philippine eagle. You have the dog, you have the bus, but you won't see a Philippine eagle. Have you discussed yung ano sa film kasay niyo yung ano, two Americans competing with each other trying to end up with the first Rizal film? No? If they're doing two films about Rizal and one is doing a full-length film and the other one is doing a short film, obviously, the one doing the short film ended up faster. Okay? Si Yearsley yata yun, if I'm not mistaken. So, in that case, no, that's also part, no, of our Philippine cinema history na yung first film, no, but in this case, shot by American filmmakers is about our national hero or our undeclared national hero. But later on, no, may mga Filipino filmmakers na who came up with full-length films about Rizal, pero different approaches. Rizal sa Dapitan, directed by Ticoy Aguiluz, who used to head Cinema Manila International Film Festival, is just about the life of Rizal in Dapitan, in Zamboanga. The biggest Rizal film, no, directed by the late Marilu Diaz Abaya, Jose Rizal, which stars again the infamous Cesar Montano, aimed to tackle the whole life of Rizal. Previously, it was supposed to be shot directed by Mike De Leon, no? But Mike De Leon walked out of the project because of creative differences and came up with his own Rizal film, which is now called Bayaning Third World. And in Bayaning Third World, it centered around two filmmakers, no, trying to debate whether to declare or whether Rizal retracted his statement, no, against the church and the Spanish government in general, no? So ganyan, no? And even in our other aspects of life, part si Rizal. You have a Rizal matchstick, you have Rizal na coin, you have Rizal funeral services, you have a Rizal street, what other products ang part si Rizal, no? So part and parcel na si Rizal ng ating Filipino culture. Not only Rizal as a national hero, but Rizal as a commercial product, no? Not just films. And then we have Cariñosa, pero I'm not familiar with this film, no? If you look at the poster, it's more of a musical. rather than a dance film. And Cariñosa is supposed to be our national dance or our undeclared national dance. Pero dito, yung Cariñosa, looking at the right poster, no, parang ano siya, it's a song. No, it stars Vilma Santos. Baka dito mas familiar kayo, no? So you have other undeclared national symbols as part of Filipino films. You have Sampaguita, a Cinemalaya film directed by the late Francis Passion. You have Bahay Kubo, a Pinoy Mano po. Pero I stopped watching Mano po after watching 5 Mano po. Okay? So may Mano po 6 pa yata, Mano po 7, and then you have Bahay Kubo, a Pinoy Mano po. And then you even have a gay and less an LGBT or a gay themed, no, Mano po, which is entitled Manay po. Okay? And then you have Lichonero, and in this case, Lichonero is directed by the uh, usual collaborator of Peque Gallaga, Lori Reyes. So it was set in Negros. Okay, so mas Negros based itong Lichonero. Okay, so you have Sampaguita about a girl selling Sampaguita, and then Bahay Kubo, a Pinoy family, no, under yun na nga, with Mano po, the series, no, the film series as its guide, and trying to bank on the popularity of Mano po, no, which is about Filipino Chinese families. And then you have Lichonero about someone who roasts pig, no, played by Paulo Contis. But this is a love story, no, with Karil as his partner or as playing his love interest. And then there are other undeclared, ito na, no, yung mga recent, undeclared, unofficial national symbols, but because we're familiar with them, even without the creators acknowledging that they're Filipino, we already arrive at the conclusion that they're Filipino. Okay, this is an ad, no, for Make-A-Wish Foundation by Disney, Walt Disney Company, no, Disney Company in the United Kingdom, no. Even without Disney acknowledging that this is Filipino, Filipinos already describe this as Filipino because of the parol, di ba? Baka naman kasi may parol din, baka meron din namang similar na Christmas lantern in other cultures, no? Sabi nila baka raw Mexican to. Okay? And they also describe the 1940s setting as vegan. Vegan in Ilocos. No, and then yung younger version, this one on your left, no, nagmano po siya or the ano ba, Filipino gesture of saying bless you. No, mano po dun sa father who gave her the Mickey Mouse character, and later on that young girl grew up to be this Lola, and in one of the cards, no, we read Lola, which is our description of grandmother. Other cultures would say that Lola refer to the name of the character. But since we're familiar with Lola as the grandmother, no, we interpreted it as the Lola or the grandmother here in that particular ad, no, by Disney for the Make-A-Wish Foundation. Ito pa, undeclared din to, di ba? Si Jacob Batalon playing yung friend ni Peter Parker in Spider-Man, the recent Spider-Man offering, no? Far From Home and A Homecoming. And then later on, what happened last year? There was a call for audition, si Ned Leeds, no? There was a call for audition for Filipino lolas or Filipino grandmothers. Even without mentioning the project, Filipinos already arrived at the conclusion that Disney ba to? Oh, Disney yung nag-call for auditions eh. No? That the grandmother, anong conclusion natin? Hindi naman declared. What's our conclusion? When Disney called for actors for auditions, no? For someone to play a grandmother. They're looking for a Filipino grandmother. Eh. What's our conclusion? Disney was casting for Ned Leeds' grandmother. Nabalitaan niyo ba yon? Yung audition, na yung lola, kahit hindi declared, parang yung sa parol, we already declared that the Disney ad is no, Filipino culture, no? In this case, since we know that Jacob Batalon is a film actor playing Ned Leeds in Spider-Man, when they called for a grandmother, ang conclusion ng Filipinos, they were casting for the grandmother of Jacob Batalon for the next Spider-Man film. And last slide, ito pa, 'di ba? Dun sa ating misplaced Filipino pride, when Selena Gomez cooked adobo, some of us, no, describe Selena Gomez as Filipino or having Filipino blood. Okay? Or even this one, no, the bigger picture, the rallies sa Capitol, who attacked the Capitol with the walis tambo. And we know that the walis tambo, okay, or something used for cleaning is distinctly Filipino. So we arrive at the conclusion that this particular rally is in the US Capitol is Filipino. Or Jokoy, no? Capitalizing on making fun of Filipinos or his Filipino background, no, for his jokes.